All right, so I am going to spend this video going over some of the questions from the assignment so you better understand how to solve using indirect measurement, which in reality, it is literally just using proportions to find missing parts of triangles. So, but I have been clarified that it's really hard for you guys to kind of pick out the triangles, which is fine. I just did not realize that. So I am going to show you that it is okay to break down the triangle into two separate triangles and use the values that way. Okay, so what I mean by that is you have a smaller triangle within a bigger triangle. And that's why in the notes you heard me always say like big over small. And so I still want to use that terminology, but I want to kind of break apart the triangle so you see the triangles better and understand the concept of indirect measurement. So I'm going to draw the triangles now. These aren't drawn to scale, obviously. So we have A, B, and E. Well, the value from A to E is 4, and the value from E to B is 6. And then we have A still up there, and then this one's D, and this one's C. The value from D to C is X, and the value from A to D is 10. Okay, so if I still want to do big triangle over small triangle, I am just going to pick a value from the bigger triangle, which I can pick X. Well, if I pick X to go on top, I need to pick the corresponding part of X from the smaller triangle to go on bottom. And what I mean by that is which value of the smaller triangle is on the bottom of the triangle as well. Well, and that would be 6. So it has to be corresponding to each other. And then we go to the other value of our bigger triangle, which is 10. And we set it on top of the corresponding part of the smaller triangle because it's big over small. Small goes on the bottom, so it'd be 4. Well, and then you just solve by cross multiplication. So it's 4x equals 10 times 6. So then we have 4x equals 60. And then we divide by 4. And x equals 15. So that means the value from D to C is 15. So again, for this next one, we can break down the triangles if we would like. We have this smaller triangle right here. And then the bigger triangle includes the smaller triangle. But it's the value of 28 in x. And the value from the smaller triangle is 9 and 12. So then when we go to solve this, we need to do big over small. Okay, well, a big value of a triangle is, we can use 28, or you can use x, it doesn't matter. So 28. Well, which side from the smaller triangle corresponds with 28? Well, 12 is in the same position, so 12 will go on the bottom of that ratio. And then we set it equal to the other values of the triangle that weren't used. So we have x, which is part of the big triangle, so that goes on top. And then we have 9. Okay, here's another way you can do it. I like to stay big over small, okay? But you can also do big triangle equals the small triangle. And what I mean by that is you can take the values of the bigger triangle. So we have x over 28. And we can set it to the values of the smaller triangle, but it needs to go in the same order. So because I did the height first, I need to do the height first of the next one. So it's 9 over 12. Either way, guys, you're going to get the same equation. So when I end up cross multiplying, I get 12x equals 28 times 9. Well, when I cross multiply this one, it's 12x equals 28 times 9, okay? So regardless of how you do it, you're still going to get the same cross multiplication product in the end. I am going to stick to doing big over small, but you can do the big triangle equals the small triangle ratio. But remember, it needs to go in corresponding parts. So if you do x over 28, you need to do 9 over 12 because it goes from height to the base and then height to the base. Okay. All right. Let's do this one. Okay. For the most part, on anything that involves like ladders or shadows or something that can be easily drawn, I will not draw it for you on the test, but I drew it for you right here on this assignment just to make it kind of a smoother transition. But a question like this one, when it involves a ladder and how high on the building, I will not draw for you on the test. But a question like this one right here where it says Mark wants to cut a triangular patch to make an emblem, I will draw those for you just because that's a little bit harder to kind of determine what kind of triangle it should be. Okay, so a 6-foot ladder touches the side of a building at a point 5 feet above the ground. Okay, so we can still kind of break this question down into 2 separate triangles if that's what we would like. So if we have a 6-foot ladder, that 6 foot is going to go diagonally. And then obviously we have a triangle because indirect measurement involves triangle. And it goes 5 feet up the wall, the building. The question asks at what height would a 15-foot ladder touch? So that 15 foot is going to be a part of our bigger triangle. And it's going to be on the diagonal. And then it wants to know how high on the building. So again, we have the big triangle versus the small triangle. Okay, it's the same as the picture I have drawn, except the triangles are separate. Okay. So if we want to do big over small, we want to do a big value, which is x. Well, x corresponds with 5 from the smaller triangle, so that goes on top. And then we have 15 over 6. Okay. All right. So for on this one, it would be important to kind of break down the triangle into 2 if you would like. So this triangle right here, the 8, 8, and 10 would be the smaller triangle versus the X and 25, which is the bigger triangle. Okay, so if we want to do big over small, just make sure that you are staying consistent when it comes to what goes on top and what goes on bottom. But if you want to break down that triangle, you can. Okay. All of these I feel like are kind of the same thing. Like when it comes to how to set them up, it's the little triangle or big triangle over little triangle. If you want to break them apart, you can. This one is the one I want to kind of go over. On the map, the length of Cleveland to New York is 7 centimeters. From Cleveland to Atlanta, it's 10 centimeters. And from New York to Atlanta, it's 13 centimeters. If on a larger map, the length of Cleveland to New York is 17.5, what are the other links? So I am going to have to create 2 different proportions because I have a missing X and a missing Y. Okay, so if I want to find the distance between New York to Atlanta, I can still do big triangle over small triangle. Okay, but the big value I do know is 17.5, so I have to use 17.5. And the value that it corresponds with that in the smaller map is 7. So it's important to know that even when you go to find from Cleveland to Atlanta, I'm still going to use 17.5 over 7 because that's the only 2 corresponding parts that I do know. And then you set it equal to what you want to find. So since I want to find the value from New York to Atlanta, that is Y from the big triangle, and from the little triangle, it corresponds with 13. Well, since I want to find the value of Cleveland to Atlanta, that is the value of X, and I want to set it across, or set it on top of the value that corresponds in the smaller map, which is 10. Okay. The rest of the questions are very similar to each other, just putting big triangle over small triangle, big over small. So the big values I like to highlight in blue. Okay, so big is always going to be around the whole triangle. So that would be 18 is a big value and X is a big value. Okay, and a small value would be the small triangle that's inside, which is usually over there in that corner. And a big value that corresponds with 18 is 3, so 3 goes here. And the small value that corresponds with X is 6, so 6 will go here. And then you cross multiply and divide. Okay, I hope this helps you navigate through these questions a little bit better. All right, bye guys.